Good evening and welcome to Look North. Our top story tonight. The number of young people admitted to hospital for eating disorders has risen dramatically. A mum from Leeds calls for more support.
She was just so consumed by the illness. And you could just, it was almost, she just looked tortured every day. It's such a horrible illness for such a young person.
We'll hear from an eating disorder charity that says early intervention is key. Also tonight, spreading the festive cheer, the campaign to ensure no child is without a present in West Yorkshire this Christmas. Hitting all the right notes, we meet the York schoolgirl who's just won the title of Young Chorister of the Year. And you think it's cold here, we meet the polar adventurer from Wetherby who's fighting to protect Antarctica.
A cold and in places wintry weekend to come, but much milder air is on the way. Join me for the very latest.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. A mother from Leeds is calling for more specialist beds for children under 13 with eating disorders. Sharon Ashley's daughter was 12 when she was admitted to hospital miles from her home as there was no care locally. The Prime Minister says he's sorry for the family's experience. It comes as the number of young people being admitted to hospital for eating disorders has rocketed in recent years. The most recent data shows a 90% increase in children and young people being hospitalised between 2016 and 2021. For many, it's a struggle to actually start receiving treatment, and the most recent figures show over 1,700 children and young people were on a waiting list between April and June this year. And almost 40% of those had been waiting more than 3 months. Well, in our region, 224 children and young people were still waiting for treatment. Our reporter Gemma Dillon has been speaking to Sharon Ashley about her daughter's illness.
Initially, it looked like choosing, I don't know, an apple over sweets, and that actually had been going on for a long time. And that's all the stuff that you think, oh yeah, and it grew and grew and grew. And then over the summer, you could tell there was a lot of fear around food.
Sharon realised her daughter needed help last summer. She was admitted to a hospital in Leeds and ended up on a general children's ward.
The staff were amazing and brilliant, but they're not trained to support an individual or families with an eating disorder and with a mental health condition. And she just started to kind of disappear in front of my eyes as she was just so consumed by the illness.
It took 3 months for a bed to become available in a specialist unit 40 miles away in Sheffield.
It's really difficult to take siblings, so to build that connection for our daughter to her life, it was quite difficult to manage to get her on home leave because the journey was so long for her.
The issue was raised by the Leeds North East MP Fabian Hamilton in the House of Commons this week at Prime Minister's Questions.
Will the Prime Minister now commit to ensuring that NHS mental health provision for young people is dramatically improved so that no other family has to ever again endure similar trauma?
Well, first of all, can I say to Sharon and her family, I'm sorry about what she's experienced. The Honourable Gentleman makes an excellent point. He's also right to raise the issue of eating disorders. It's something that provision is currently expanding for. I think 2,000 more children were given the treatment and advice and support they needed last year, and there are plans to go further because it's an issue that needs tackling.
Well, the government say it is increasing capacity in community support teams across the country, including in Leeds. Meanwhile, Sharon's daughter's now back at home after a year in hospital, and they're looking forward to a family Christmas together. Gemma Dillon, BBC Look North, Leeds.
And thank you to Sharon for sharing her story. And we know she's not alone. Claire Reynolds is a director from the eating disorders charity Beat. I asked her how typical Sharon's story was.
Yeah, sadly, this is not an isolated case. And we do know that given the higher prevalence of eating disorders, particularly amongst younger children, that there just are simply not enough beds and specialist medical staff available to treat.
And now, Sharon says it took 3 months for her daughter to get a place in the specialist unit. And early intervention is key, though, isn't it, in terms of treating eating disorders?
Absolutely, yeah. At Beat, we believe that early intervention is the key to the shortest possible and the most successful recovery for somebody with an eating disorder. So sadly, the longer the waiting times, the harder this is. And ideally, people would not ever have to reach inpatients. They would receive that treatment before they needed that level of intensive care.
Yeah, and the latest figures suggest there's been a huge rise in the number of children and young people needing treatment since the pandemic. What would you put this down to?
So at Beat, we are supporting more and more people, particularly young children, since the pandemic. There's a variety of reasons. For some of these people are suffering for the first time, or others, it's where a child has recovered and unfortunately, due to the pandemic and some of the stresses of that, they have relapsed. I mean, for everybody, the pandemic caused considerable uncertainty and anxiety, but for somebody who is suffering with a mental health disorder, particularly an eating disorder, this has really made things far worse.
And it's very complex, isn't it? Is anorexia treatable?
Absolutely. Recovery is possible. The key things are that early intervention, getting support and getting help at the earliest possible opportunity.
Claire Reynolds, thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you.
Well, if you or someone you know has been affected by the issues raised on tonight's report, you can contact the BBC Action Line via bbc.co.uk/action line for details of organisations which offer advice and support. Next tonight, it's one of the busiest nights of the year for calls to the emergency services, as it coincides with one of the most popular nights for Christmas celebrations. North Yorkshire Police say they anticipate the Force Control Room will receive a 30% increase in 999 and 101 calls compared with demand on an average Friday night. Well, Phil Bodmer is in New York for us this evening. Phil, I bet it's busy already, is it?
I tell you what, Amanda, it's pretty cold in Yorkshire. You know, this is known as a winter hut. In Germany, it's known as a Winterhutte, and this is a traditional two-storey alpine chalet. And it doubles as a bar and a bistro, and it's proved hugely popular here as part of the St Nicholas Fair, which you can see below there on Parliament Street. And these streets tonight, they're going to be even more lively because, as you rightly say, this is one of the busiest nights of the year. And the police are gearing up with extra resources tonight. More bobbies on the beat because they know more people are likely to be out celebrating tonight as they finish work. And there'll be more resources in the control room as well. They're hoping that people come out, enjoy themselves, have a good time, stay safe, but know their limits. This is what the police advice is for people coming out tonight.
Obviously, we don't want to discourage people coming out. We want people to come out and enjoy, North Yorkshire. We want people to be sensible. We want them to be safe. So it's about looking after each other, sticking together, preparing for the cold weather. It's going to be -6, which obviously brings its own challenges. And think about, if you do need to make that call to emergency services, what is it and what else can be done, and do things to stop that call having to come into us.
Well, York is a city which relies on people coming in to spend money, and of course the nighttime economy is a vital part of York's offering. But there are those who live here and say, well, hang on, we don't want this reputation for antisocial behaviour, and we know that sometimes people can overindulge. This is what the local MP had to tell us about getting that balance right.
It has got to be balanced, and the thing that residents tell me is that they want to be welcome in their city too. So we need to ensure that we control the nighttime economy whilst also ensuring that we give everybody, tourists as well as local residents, a really great experience at Christmas.
Well, there is some evidence from retailers that trade is in fact down, and they put that really down to the railway strikes, which means less people are likely to come in. Now, the police say that also might mean people may be persuaded to stay over. Whatever you're doing, if you are coming out tonight, once again, they do say they don't want to spoil your fun, they're not killjoys, but if you are coming out, that message they want to reiterate to everybody is to stay safe and make sure you know your limits. But judging by the number of people still out tonight, it's expected that these streets will get an awful lot busier than they are now. Amanda.
Thank you, Phil. Yes, everything in moderation. Now, next tonight, the campaign to buy Christmas presents for children in West Yorkshire as families feel the impact of the rising cost of living. Gifts have been delivered to schools in Leeds and Bradford this week in an effort to ensure all pupils can feel part of the Christmas celebrations. Here's our social affairs correspondent, Emma Glasby.
Thank you, thank you.
Little helpers in Bradford collecting in presents for pupils.
Adorable, thank you, Carmen. Thank you.
Some of their friends will get individual gifts, but every classroom at Beckford Heaton Primary School gets a present for pupils to share. This is about making sure all children receive a Christmas gift and everyone feels included in the celebrations.
These are all for the classrooms, OK? So everybody gets something.
It is important because it's a big celebration for Christmas, so everybody can have a present.
They get to enjoy when they're playing with it, and it gets to be equal.
It'll make the children happy that they got gifts for Christmas.
Karen provides extra support for pupils and parents at schools in Bradford and Leeds as a life coach. She fundraises at Christmas as part of the Smile campaign after seeing some families struggling to afford any presents.
It can be difficult, and one of the things we're seeing, which is really lovely and sad at the same time, are children worried about their parents being able to afford Christmas presents and saying, it's fine, I don't need anything this year. And we just wanted to make sure that everybody got something. And we know we're only touching a small area, it's just tip of the iceberg, but the schools that we partner with, as I said, are amazing schools, and we wanted to do our bit.
Beckford Heaton, like all schools, is supporting families in any way it can through the cost of living crisis. But the head believes this campaign in particular shows the best of humanity.
Whenever there's a time where you can bring joy to children's lives, then you have to take it. They are children and they deserve to, have a happy childhood. I think another really important aspect of it for me as the head teacher here is helping children learn that being kind and giving to others is a really important human attribute, as well as the receiving of the gifts and feeling happy when every class receives a gift, helping children see that somebody's made a conscious decision to do that for us, for our school.
This winter is harder for many families, but perhaps this year more than ever, people want to help others feel some Christmas joy. Emma Glasby, BBC Look North, Bradford.
Oh yeah, what a lovely idea. Now let's get some news in brief. And every home in Sheffield that lost its gas supply 2 weeks ago has now been reconnected. 3,000 properties were affected in Stannington and Malin Bridge after a burst water main flooded gas pipes. Letters have now been hand-delivered to all those homes with details of how compensation will be paid. And there'll be more on this story on Politics North on Sunday. It's been revealed that human remains found 2 years ago near Helmsley were those of 2 World War II airmen whose plane crashed during a secret mission. The discovery in March 2020 sparked a joint investigation by police and the Ministry of Defence. Bone fragments were found from Pilot Officer Alfred Milne and Sergeant Eric Stubbs, who died in 1944. An inquest in Northallerton today reached a conclusion of accidental death. 3 swimming pools in Kirklees closed their doors for 3.5 months today to save money on rising heating bills. Kirklees Active Leisure, which manages a total of 12 centres in the region, say by temporarily closing 3 of them, the other sites will be able to run as normal. Despite local protests, the Colne Valley Leisure Centre, Batley Baths and Deaton Sports Arena will close until March. Now, what started out as a plan to raise £10 for a few pairs of pyjamas has turned into an almighty success story for the boy who dreamt it up. 12-year-old Tommy, who's from Normanton, set himself a daily physical challenge and asked for sponsors to raise the cash. Nearly £3,000 later, he's bought hundreds of items for his local clothing bank, and all for just walking 10 steps a day. Here's Kathy Killick.
Daily life isn't easy for 12-year-old Tommy. His physical disability means keeping his balance and walking is extremely difficult. He usually needs help or a frame, but for the last few weeks he's made himself walk 10 steps a day, unaided.
See if you can do some steps.
Here are today's steps from his front door to the sofa, and he's used this simple challenge to raise money for others.
When I first started it, I was shocked because as soon as it went live, people started donating money to it, and the total now is just amazing.
By posting his daily walks online, nearly £3,000 has been raised. Tommy originally intended to buy a few pairs of pyjamas for children living in poverty, but the heartwarming generosity of donors means Tommy's gone on an almighty shopping spree, buying 300 outfits for his local clothing bank.
I'm going to load the car up. I've got some more here, Tommy, as well. We just want to reach out to as many people who've helped us and donated and say just the biggest thank you, because it has enabled Tommy to make a difference to a lot of families this year, but it's also made a difference to him, and I thank everybody for that.
Today, Tommy and his family delivered the outfits to the clothing bank in Brotherton, where they'll be sorted and posted to families in need.
There's no words, is there? It's quite emotional. He's such an amazing young man. It's been lovely watching his journey. It's mind-blowing.
All I do is imagine their face in my mind on Christmas morning and they have a big smile on their face, and it just makes me really happy.
The gift of giving strikes again. Thanks to Tommy, hundreds of children will get clothes to be proud of this Christmas. Kathy Killick, BBC Look North, Normanton.
Now, a schoolgirl from York has won the BBC's Young Chorister of the Year competition, and she's here in the studio with us tonight. 16-year-old Naomi Simon beat hundreds of others to pick up the trophy in a special Songs of Praise programme shown on BBC Two last weekend. We'll hear from Naomi and her mum Frances in just a moment, but first here's a quick look at her amazing performance in the final.
Did you know that your baby boy is heaven's perfect lamb? The sleeping child you're holding is the great
And so the winner is Naomi.
Oh, Naomi, that was absolutely beautiful. You have every reason to smile. Have you come back down to earth yet?
Yeah, just about. I'm getting there. It's been a roller coaster week. And yeah, I'm just kind of taking it all in, but it feels amazing. Yeah,
and Frances, you must be so proud of her.
So proud, yeah.
She's
really,
only 16.
Really proud.
Yeah.
No, it's fantastic.
So tell us a little bit about the prize.
So I auditioned quite a while ago, and you basically send in a tape, and then that tells you everything you need to do. They decide if they want you or not. Then 5 of you go through, and then we recorded the semi-final, and then the final, and then I'm here. Yeah, but the prize. Yeah, so we got to record with the Philharmonic Orchestra, which was amazing.
Wow.
A really talented group. And yeah, I got to record a few songs with them, so it was really, really nice.
And the judges talked about your very emotional performance. Just tell me what goes through your mind when you're singing these beautiful songs.
Well, I like to act, so I kind of imagine that the pieces I'm singing is like a performance, and everything I'm singing to Mary. So I'm the angel, and I'm basically just imagining that I am singing to her and telling her an amazing story. Yeah.
Beautiful. And Frances, you obviously follow Naomi around the country with all these beautiful singing. Just tell us a little bit about what treats we have in store. And there's one this weekend, isn't there?
There is. So you're performing, aren't you? She's singing some lovely solo pieces and some lovely Christmas carols. And so it's going to be a really special event. It's at St Edmund's Church.
Yes, know it well. Beautiful venue.
Leeds. So very, very special second professional performance that you'll be doing. But yes, should be a really lovely evening. Do come along, 7:30.
And how do you feel when you're in the audience watching her?
Oh, just super proud. She's very confident and self-assured, and that is really wonderful to see. And yeah, we do. We're really grateful, and grateful. We've had lots of people praying and supporting her, and that's been really, really, really encouraging just to see her flourish in this way. She started off very young, York Minster, from the age of 7, and very dedicated. And just to see her flourishing now at 16 is really, really super.
And Naomi, is this going to be a career for life, do you think, or a hobby?
Hopefully a career. I mean, I've done it for so long, it would be a shame to kind of throw it away. But I don't know, it's such a hard profession because there's so many talented people out there. It's a worry that you might not get the work, but this competition itself has just like put me in the spotlight. So hopefully something amazing will come of it and I can, rely on it as a career.
I'm sure it will. You're certainly one to watch. Thank you both for coming in this evening.
Thank you very much for having me.
Now, many of us have been feeling the polar explorers in the freezing temperatures have enjoyed this week. The mercury dropped as low as -10 Celsius in Topcliffe last night. So spare a thought for Jez Draycott from Wetherby, who's about to set off to Antarctica, where the temperature today was -29 Celsius, but felt more like -43. Olivia Richwald explains why he's putting himself through it.
Antarctica is beautiful. It's an amazing place, it's inspiring, it's just completely untouched, and it's so precious when you're down there. You see the penguins, you see places that people have never trod. You turn and look around and it's foggy, then you turn and look around again, and there's a huge mountain, maybe 5,000, 6,000 metres high. It's a stunning place.
This is Jez Draycott, a satellite engineer from Wetherby.
Yes, there is a delay.
He visited Antarctica in March, and after Christmas he's heading back as part of a trek to reach the South Pole.
We have a plan. We always have to stay away and respect them because they're not used to humans in Antarctica. So we have to leave them in their natural environment.
Jez will walk and ski for 60 miles with temperatures as low as -40 and wind speeds of up to 150 miles an hour.
Antarctica can be dangerous, yes. There are crevasses there, when you look, and even on the peninsula, it's obviously the temperatures are a problem there. But the main things are really that we see are going to be frostbite.
We've got seals, all kinds of amazing...
Jez is facing the challenge alongside polar explorer Robert Swan, who's made it his life's work to save Antarctica from human exploitation. The continent is twice the size of Australia, but owned by no one and no one country. It's been protected by the Antarctic Treaty since 1959.
So it stops people, mining there, it stops, military purposes. It just holds it then for everybody to see and everybody to enjoy.
The treaty expires in less than 20 years, so school presentations like this one at Highfield Prep in Harrogate inspire the next generation to protect Antarctica in the future.
After about a 10-day walk, we aim to be there, hopefully with all of our fingers and toes intact.
Jez and his company have designed a mobile phone-based broadcasting system to enable the group to send live updates en route. We'll catch up with them in a few weeks on the other side of the world. Olivia Richwald, BBC Look North.
Wow, what a challenge. Now, onto the weather. It's what we're all talking about, Paul.
Yep.
Flipping cold.
Very cold. In fact, I've just got some really impressive statistics. It's been the 6th coldest start to December since Central England temperature records began in 1772.
Well, that was my interested face. Did you like that?
Yes, you did look very interesting, and you like this picture because I know you like Whitby. Let's have a look at that first picture because it's the first time the River Esk in Whitby has frozen over since December 2010, so it really has been an exceptional cold spell. The second picture, I showed one of the Leeds-Liverpool canal, and the canal, I think that's the Rochdale Canal at Hebden Bridge, has also frozen over. So send your pictures in. The addresses are on your screen right now. So the cold spell is going to come to an end, not before we've had a bit of snow this weekend. Not everyone, but there's some snow in the forecast, and then exceptionally mild conditions coming through on Monday. This is subtropical air, which is going to track across as 15 degrees is possible on Monday afternoon, which is a pretty remarkable turnaround. And then next week, in the lead up to Christmas, it looks very unsettled, often windy, with temperatures going back down to normal levels 7 or 8 degrees. Now, there's a satellite picture. There is more cloud up to the northwest, so we're already in a frost following -10 at Topcliffe last night. But I think later on we'll see a weak weather front bringing some showery outbreaks of sleet and snow into the Yorkshire Dales, perhaps the West Yorkshire Pennines. To the east of here, just the odd wintry shower and another sharp frost to come down to -3, not as cold as last night. So tomorrow's high water times then in Scarborough at 10:30, Filey at 10:50. So southern and eastern areas starting dry and bright, but we'll have this area of sleet and snow tracking southwards across the Pennines. A few wintry showers further east, and I think this weather front will sort of fizzle out through the course of the day. But in general, a much cloudier picture tomorrow. And numerically, temperatures will be higher, but we'll have a freshening southwest wind, so there'll be a significant wind chill across all parts of the region. And then on Sunday, a bright start. There will be some rain, sleet and perhaps a short spell of snow, especially over the hills, and some freezing rain is possible, some ice, but it's not going to last long because the mild air will be racing in. Look at that on Monday, 15. We're going to go from -10 last night to 15 on Monday afternoon, and then changeable through the rest of next week with rain possible. That's the forecast, Amanda.
Thank you very much. It's not often we say this, but roll on Monday, I say.
Indeed.
Thank you very much, Paul. That's it from us. Do have a lovely evening and weekend, and we'll be back with the late news and weather at around 10:30. See you again. Bye.